Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of Tavora Talks. I am your host, Cash, joined as always by my co-host and partner in cybercrime, Mr. Matt Mosley. Happy 2023. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Happy 2023. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, everyone out there. We are excited to be back. The break was fantastic, but cybercrime does not stop. So the crime fighters are back in action. And yeah, it's gonna be a good year. I think 2022 was a great year. We were super busy. Um, let's see what 2023 has for us.
Yeah. Hopefully, I think I was reading just the other day that business email compromises were actually, or email fraud and like wire fraud were like the number one attacks for cyber insurance,
Oh, really?
which was a big change, right? Because I thought ransomware was number one, but I guess not anymore. So that's
Yeah,
good.
I mean, I feel like ransomware, a lot of people are stepping it up and being prepared for ransomware, so it's maybe not as easy as it was anymore.
Right.
Maybe,
Yeah. And I mean,
but
states are now passing legislation to like forbid paying attackers, right? Like,
yep,
so not individual enterprises or businesses, but the government, like, government entities are not allowed to do ransom payments. So I think that's probably affecting some of it as well.
for sure, for sure. And I mean, like now that I kind of think about it, it's a lot easier, kind of, to do the business email compromise as far as an attacker is concerned, because you know intercept messages and whatnot. I remember one story of somebody we may or may not have worked with had that wire fraud situation, right, because of that.
Yep.
And a lot of money can disappear real quick with not much effort on the attacker's end, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a clever message. I mean, we've had it at Tavora. We've caught it, but we've had it come in where, someone hacks a client email box and then it tells our accounts billables that hey, you're past due on this invoice, please wire to this address or whatever, this account, and all that
Yep.
stuff. It needs to be done right away. Or they'll get a text message from our CEO, but it's a fake CEO
Yep,
saying
yep,
that
yep,
they
yep.
need it. Yeah, so I don't know if it's easier, but definitely more profitable, right? I think it's in the billions of how much money they've made. So
No, I mean like easier in the part of like you don't have to get into the right system, find the domain cluster, find
oh, right.
escalate your privileges, blah 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 blah.
Right.
It's a little bit
Yeah,
more.
find the backups.
It's just
Go
like
go
find the
pat
one
two
guy that's gonna
factor
give
if
you
you
his
can.
email password. Hey, this is IT. Give me your email password. Okay, IT.
Yeah.
Here it is. All right, thanks. That's it.
It is interesting though. I mean, like, we've had a lot of ransomware cases, but we had one case in particular that uh it was the Babook group. And that group was an interesting bunch to deal with just because they were very professional and they operated like, do you remember during like the negotiations, they were like, okay, let me check with my supervisor and see if that deal is okay. Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and then in the end, they told us how they got in. Like they told the guy, the owner of the company, how they got in and stuff like that. And they used his credentials and got in through VPN and two factor and destroyed the backups. It was crazy. So
Yep.
they treated it like a pen test, like a professional pen test. Like, hey, this is what we did. This is how we did it. This is what you need to do to fix it.
And yeah, they had their like help desk team, the whole thing
Yeah,
involved.
yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah,
the
that was right. I
decryption didn't
forgot about
work.
that part. The decryptor didn't work, so
Yeah,
then
the
we
decryptor didn't
talked to
work.
them and they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll fix that." And the next day they had like a new written decryptor.
It's so funny, man. So funny. But now that we're kind of on the topic of ransomware, I think me and you were kind of chatting about this. I think it's like a cool thing that we've never really talked about. We've talked about ransomware plenty, but we never really talked about the ransom itself, right? How that plays out. How do you pay? Do you pay the full amount? Do you negotiate with them? What's that process, right? So
Yeah, I think there's a lot involved in that too, right? There's a lot of factors to deal with from a business side, but also just from the negotiation side, right?
for sure, for sure. I mean, like what were we talking about? Just let's give a hypothetical scenario. So let's say company X gets attacked, they get their data taken out, held hostage, etc. Right? Hey, now we want $1 million. Then what? Right? There's like a lot of like things like, okay,
Well,
well,
some
let's
of our
say,
clients told us they just pay it.
yeah, right. And okay, and let's say you are that client that you have, $1 billion cash sitting in your bank account. Okay, $1 million is like negligible at
Right.
that point, right? But all right, how do you pay it? You have your cash,
Yeah, that's true.
fine. Okay, you can't like go get a duffel bag full of ones and drop it off at the mailbox, right? You got to get it to these guys. You can't go to Chase and be like, "Hey, can you transfer 1 million to this bank account number?" It doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah. You're not going to fly to Eastern Europe and drop off the cash either.
Yeah, I'll meet you on the corner of Venezuela and wherever.
Sorry to
But
single out Eastern Europe, but it is odd. Just side note, it is odd that ransomware kind of dropped off while Russia and Ukraine are going at it. Uh, Interesting, right? How maybe they're busy with something else. They
yeah,
couldn't do
for
all the
sure,
ransomware that
for
they want to
sure.
do. Anyway, go back to sorry.
Reroute all sources. Stop it attacking companies. Attacking. But yeah, it's like we've talked about this, especially working on these kind of cases with companies, and essentially Bitcoin or crypto is the way to go to make these payments, which seems okay itself. Me and you, we've dabbled in crypto, right? Easy. You get an app, buy a few $100 of this, few $100 of that. It's okay for personal use. But when like if you're a public traded company and all of a sudden you have to buy $200,000 of Bitcoin, it gets a little tricky, right?
Yeah,
And not only the part of buying it, but sending it. Sending it itself, it can get flagged. It depends where you're sending it to. Who are you sending it to? Is the people I'm sending it to, are they like the company we just talked about? Are they actual legit-ish? Will they keep their word? Will they not? Are they, what do you always say? Are they part of a terrorist organization?
right. Exactly. That's a big thing, right? So that was something that I didn't realize until I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago when we started kind of working with negotiators and stuff. Is that was part of their vetting process? Was is this group trustworthy enough to give you a decryptor if you pay? It does the decryptor work, 9 times out of 10. And then lastly, are they associated with terrorism? Because then you open up a whole new can of worms with Homeland Security, because now you just funded the Taliban or the extreme right or
Absolutely,
whatever the
absolutely.
terrorist group is.
And I mean, like beyond like Homeland Security, I mean, United States wants to control where their money is going, right? They don't want it to go to countries that they don't work with necessarily, right? OFAC steps in and says, okay, you guys sent $1 million where?
Right.
Okay. Not just to who, but where, right? And it's leaving our country, it's going into some other country's bank account that, hey, maybe we don't want to send our money there. And there's a lot of little problems around that. But
Exactly.
I think another bigger factor is me and you were kind of talking about this is like, okay, if you want to start negotiating with these hackers, majority of the time, the ransom note, it's like, here's an onion link, right? And here's like a Proton email. And
Yeah.
I was telling him, I'm like, I don't want to hop on the dark web from my work computer and start negotiating with these guys. It's like, yeah, yeah, here, click this link and we'll start talking. It's like, no, it's all good.
Let's just keep it to email.
Yeah, let's keep it to email. I'll go get a burner phone, call me. But yeah, it's kind of a sticky situation, right?
Right. And I mean, there's a lot of things that come into play too, like even just the money situation, right? You're talking about transferring the money and all that stuff to Bitcoin. Do you negotiate in dollars or do you negotiate in crypto, right? Because the market fluctuates, $1 changes as to what one Bitcoin is,
Oh,
like
for sure.
on the second, right? Like or on
Yeah,
the minute.
instantly.
So,
Super volatile.
yeah, do you negotiate, 3 Bitcoin or whatever? I don't even know what Bitcoin's price is right now. Was it like 16K?
Yeah, it's dropped significantly for sure. It's something like that.
But yeah, 16K. So to the web.
To the web,
Uh,
Batman.
but
Yeah,
yeah, and then the other part is like who do you talk to help negotiate? And do you let the attackers know that you're bringing in a negotiator, right? Those are some interesting questions.
for sure.
Uh,
And like on that, I actually was reading some articles from like a negotiator he has like a little blog and whatnot, and he says, "Hey, rule number one actually is don't say you're a negotiator. If the attacker finds out you're a negotiator, they may not even do any business and immediately dump your data."
yeah. I mean, that makes sense, right? Like if I'm the attacker, I don't want to deal with a negotiator. Obviously, you have money, you hired a negotiator. Pay me my dues and I'll go away. Otherwise, F you. I'll just dump your data.
You know what just came to mind? Imagine like, okay, my voice and your voice is on the web or whatever, right? If you listen to us, maybe you'll become familiar with our voice at some point. Like if you're calling the same customer service representative, you'll eventually remember that
Oh
representative's
yeah, for
voice.
sure.
So imagine you're this negotiator. Do you have to like mask your voice and put all these filters on it every time you deal with the same like Babook gang? Your Babook's gonna pick up the phone and be like, "Hey man, you sound a lot like the last guy
Yeah,
we had."
yeah.
You know, like what's the strategy there? But yeah, you definitely like what this person was suggesting is you have to kind of come in as a negotiator and say, hey, we're part of the company, right? And I don't know to what extent that process is like. Would that company need to really quickly make you an email so you start negotiating from that email? And where do you make a phone call from? Do you get like a, I don't know, like a
I'm based on what I know
Google
from
number?
ransomware things. I mean, they're pretty deep in. I mean, for example, one incident when we're negotiating, the rules that this group had were that they wouldn't touch an entity that made less than, I don't know, like 300 grand a year or something like that, or a million a year. I can't remember, but when we told them that the company didn't make that much money, their response was, "No, we've actually looked at your books. We know how much money you make, and
Yeah.
you're lying." So, with that said, coming in and creating a new entity, a new email address, and a new employee probably wouldn't work. They probably know who works there, or at least would know to look up that person to see if they were new or not. I think the best bet is to just act as if you were the owner or some sort of high up executive at the company. So.
Yep. And I think like when I do some of these exercises and it comes down to the matter of, okay, we have the choice, we have to either pay or not pay. And even those companies that say, let's pay, and they're okay with buying Bitcoin, it comes to the fact of, okay, who is buying the Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Are we buying it from our company account? Or, Joe gonna buy the Bitcoin and send it from his account and then we reimburse Joe? Do we do that? It's kind of tricky.
$1 million is a huge expense report.
Yeah, that's a lot. Imagine calling your boss, be
You
like, "Hey,
bought how
boss,
many Bitcoin?
can you approve my expense report for this week?" But yeah, it's kind of interesting. I did
And
read
that
though.
opens up a lot of questions too, which are legal questions that you and I can't answer, but maybe we have an attorney that listens. I don't know. But yeah, if your company does pay this money to someone, and then that someone pays the ransomer, Bitcoin, and they are associated with terrorism, who does the Department of Homeland Security target next now? Now that you funded terrorism, right? Is it your company? Is it a subsidiary? Is it that person that did the negotiations? Like,
Yeah, who gets
who's in
pinched?
trouble? Who's going to jail? So, or even like you said, the OFAC. So,
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, there's no smooth way around paying a ransom. Um,
no
I
easy
mean,
way for sure. Yeah.
one
And a
of
lot of
the
factors come into it too, just from the business side, of, how much is the ransom, and then how much is it going to cost to do recovery, right? And if we do recovery, are we going to get it all back? Or if we do pay the ransom, are we going to get it all back, right? Like, you got to weigh all of those different variables.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's 100% a gamble. It's like roulette, black or red. You know, they're either gonna give it, keep their word, or they're gonna take us and run. Right? Take
Well,
us
in
for a
the
ride.
words of Wesley Snipes, always bet on black. So
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna stick to that next time I go.
I
But I
always do
did
red
read
five. So
Red Five. I
it's
did. We did. We played a little at
yeah, it 100%
DEF CON. We
works
it
one out
did.
of five times. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, how many numbers are there? 1 out of 35. So you have
Something
some
like that. Yeah.
but I
I
was
did.
reading the.
On a side note, I did have a pretty good run at roulette. You were there.
Yep, you
I,
did.
I
You
kept
did.
hitting what 500. Like it was crazy. So
I remember that one time you were on like red five, red five, red five, red five, and then the second we leave, the dealer's like, "Hey, hit your red
yeah.
five." Like
And for the geeks out there, I always do red five because of Luke Skywalker. That's his call sign in Star Wars.
that's so funny.
All right, so back to ransomware.
Back to ransomware.
So the other part's the price of the negotiation, right? Like how much does that usually cost? So from what I've seen is that usually there's a flat fee for the negotiators to do some threat intelligence, find out who the group is, what's their reliability on decryptor working, are they associated with terrorism, right? So there's that fee, and then they take a cut of whatever they um, negotiate, right? Whatever the price is, which to me, and I think you and I talked about this, it seems counterintuitive because if I'm taking 10% or whatever it is of the price that you pay for the ransom, obviously I want that ransom to be more less than what was originally proposed, but obviously not the lowest because I'm taking 10%.
Oh yeah, for
It seems
sure.
kind of
For
weird.
sure. For sure it does.
And then I was thinking like, well, you had the idea. Well, go ahead with your idea.
My idea was however much we save you, we'll take 10% of the savings instead, which
Right.
makes more sense because then it incentivizes the negotiator to try to get the best deal as opposed to, hey, they only took 10 grand off, but now you owe me 90. You
Right.
know?
But then I was doing the math on that and I was like, well, if it's $400,000 is the original ransom, and then we get it down to 50,000, which these are made up numbers, but we had a similar case that was about this much. So we've saved them $350,000. Now they owe us 35,000 versus the 5,000.
400K. Yeah. See, that makes more sense. But if it was like the
35, no,
opposite,
because like if they took 10% of what was negotiated, it's 5,000. But if we took 10% of what we saved them, it's 35,000. So it doesn't work out for the client.
it doesn't. It doesn't work out for the client
Works
that
out for
way.
us though.
Wait, for taking on the savings?
Yeah, yeah. Because if it's 400,000, right? And you negotiate down to 50,000, 10% of that is 5,000. But if you take the other side of it and you take 10% of what you saved them, it's 35,000. So it's like it's 7 times as much.
But at the same time, you have to consider the ransom amount itself.
Yeah.
Maybe our payouts will be higher.
Right. Yeah. In the end, it's still what 85,000 versus 400,000.
Exactly. So for the clients, it's in their interest. Yes, maybe the negotiator will make more money by saving the client more money, but in the end game, like the total sum for the client will be significantly less.
Yeah.
So I think I like my mathematic strategy versus the current one in place.
Because
But
it sends you to Tahiti.
but when you kind of go back real quick to you saying, hey, you got to vet who it is, right? How do you
Yeah.
do that? You kind of go open source intelligence, etc. Look at the ransom note, analyze it, tools, tactics, procedures, right? There's a lot, right? But what's the site? Is it the MITRE that shows like all the APT groups and all their details?
Yeah. The MITRE ATT&CK framework.
So one thing I did read, one of the blogs, another blog was saying, they've been able to sometimes bring the ransom back down to zero.
Oh,
And
really?
I found that interesting. And I read into it a little bit more. And they were saying that assuming that you get a reputable group. You know, these groups, they're really in it for the business, but they're not just like corrupted humans altogether, right? They, you know, reach out and say, hey, we're like a medical company, we're
Yeah.
here saving people's lives, and you guys corrupted our system. Some people may die because of you. And then those attackers, they'll, if they actually have a conscience, they'll come back and they'll say, you know, we're totally sorry. You know, we didn't intend it for to do that to you guys. We just,
Yeah.
you know, for majority of the time, it's like they just
That is
scan the
true.
web, they find an IP that they can poach, right? They can hack into, unless it's like a super targeted attack, right?
Yeah.
But I
But
found
that
that kind
medical
of
thing
cool.
was definitely, I mean, that was big during COVID for sure. I remember ransomware groups like making announcements saying that, you know, hey, if you're a hospital or whatever, like we're not going to attack you.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
one of the rules for Babook was that if you were a university or something like that, if you were education nonprofit or medical, that you were off limits.
And
So
I feel that should go like widespread message to the hacker
right,
community, right? It's like
rules of engagement.
rules of engagement, man. Like keep some kind of business ethics somewhere or hacking ethics, even though you're not an ethical hacker. Um,
Right. Well, we did have the first death from ransomware or from a computer attack. I think it was
at a
in Europe.
hospital, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the hospital was attached to a university, and the university got hit by ransomware, and it, I guess, spilled over into the hospital. And so the victim was on his way, or she was on her way. I can't remember if it was male or female to the hospital, and they had to reroute them to a different hospital. And on the way to the reroute, they passed away. And so they associated the death with the cyber attack because if they hadn't, then they could have possibly saved them at that hospital. So
I mean, which makes sense because the hack itself was the initial chain in the chain of causation, right? So,
right,
um, yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, like the ransomware and how you get in and all the systems and the technology side of it is its own interesting topic, but the ransom itself is a big factor. You have to pull in so many different people to make that decision, make it sound, make it a good decision, cross all your T's, dot all your I's. And when you got to do
you have to
things on the
trust your
fly,
negotiator too.
yeah.
What if like one of them wanted to pad the number, like, oh yeah, it's $1 million, but we can talk them down to 50,000,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh wow, but really the ransom was like 30. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly, right? You know,
And they
you have
skimmed 20,000 off the top.
so I mean for companies out there, whoever's listening, I feel like it's good to have all of these things kinks worked out now,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Just in case you don't want to like get hacked and then start figuring out, oh, who's our negotiator? How do we buy our Bitcoin? Who's our attorney? How do we get them looped in? Right?
Right.
Because by the time you figure all that out, I mean, hours in a business that's making $1 million a day, it adds up real quick. So
Yep.
you want to be able to pull that trigger on a whim. It's like, okay, we're prepared for this. This is exactly how we're going to do it. This is our threshold, et cetera, et cetera. And you know,
And cyber insurance can definitely help there, right? Like if you have a cyber insurance policy, they'll give you a breach counselor or a coach that can walk you through what needs to happen. And they have the connections of different IR firms and negotiators and all that good stuff that can start that process, but it should still be muscle memory before that, right? To know
for
what to
sure,
do. And
for
even
sure,
it, and this is what I've always said, being a teacher and just teaching people is like, you learn math the manual way, writing it down, carrying the number, all that stuff. And then later on, you get to use a calculator. You should still know the process behind what the insurance does before you call insurance to use your
absolutely,
calculator. You should still know who are they calling, what team you're going to call, how the negotiation work, what are the details, what's the limit, right? What's your risk appetite for paying or not paying? Do you draw a line in the sand and say, hey, we're not paying ransom no matter what, right? Those are those decisions that you need to make now before it happens so that you're not, like you said, wasting hours going back and forth trying to figure out what you want to do and how you want to do it and deciding, do we want to pay the ransom or not pay the ransom? We've worked with companies that are like, we don't pay the ransom no matter what. And you're like, okay, fine. Let's work through what that looks like then. Where do we get our backups from? How long is it going to take to get a backup from, over the wire? Right. We had that one company who their backups were stellar. They were in perfect condition, but they were across the country and it was taking days to download terabytes of data.
Oh, for
Right.
sure.
It was faster to fly and get a hard drive than it was to download it over the wire.
Mhm.
Right. Like literally human carrier pigeons. We flew, grabbed the hard drives, and we flew back.
Much quicker,
Yeah.
much easier. And that really comes down. Had one of these clients ask, hey, what's a good amount to put? And I say that's really dependent on you guys, right? And I think this goes back to the same thing you were talking about: is be prepared, get that muscle memory for that, and determine what your loss expectancy threshold is, right? Determine the value of the data that you currently have in your systems. Every system has a certain data set. How much is that data worth to you and your company? Is it just everybody's first and last names? Is it social security numbers in there? Is it your company's blueprints, your proprietary information? What is it, right? And put a dollar figure on that and say, hey, if our source code for this new software that we've been spending 5 years developing gets, encrypted or leaked or hacked, we've spent maybe $50 million on that so far. There's your number, right? So
Exactly.
if they come in, the hackers are like, hey, we need $100 million. We're like, okay, no, because it's only cost us 50 million. Why would we give you 100? Unless, the 50 million is its thing and your, code is so proprietary that you don't want it to get leaked to the public, because then your company crumbles,
Right.
so
You have to look at the future profits.
So yeah, it's like your single loss expectancy, annual loss expectancy, total value of the data, and even non-tangible value. There's a lot that goes into it. So I feel it's, in my opinion, find out what your data's worth and how much it's worth to you guys,
Yeah.
both dollar value and the work and effort put into it.
What's your stance on paying ransom or not paying ransom? If for say you had a multi-million-dollar company.
I mean, if I was in a tricky situation and let's say I vetted the company, I call them company hacker groups. Right? If I vetted them and I say, okay, they're for sure going to keep their word, and if I pay and it'll get me back up and running within an hour or two, I would probably do it. Because the other way, as opposed to not paying, we do these exercises. Everybody's like, oh, we'll have systems up and running in 30 minutes. I'm like, no, you're not. That's not possible. Let's be real. Right? It depends. I guess it depends on it's very subjective, I think. Like
Yeah, I mean, I
if
would
my
agree with that.
dad's computer gets hacked, I'll be like, okay, have fun, I'm not paying
Yeah,
you
for
anything.
sure. Well,
But
and we have like clients that have just virtual consoles or virtual terminals for all their employees, right? So like, if the endpoint gets hit, it's no big deal.
yeah,
Just spin up a
exactly.
new virtual system. Um, for me, I guess it would just, yeah, same thing. Like I'm not opposed to paying. I would try not to, but I'm not opposed to it. I know some people are like, we don't negotiate no matter what. And you're like, okay, well, that is your prerogative.
Yeah, I mean that's like a
The
very
FBI says not
stubborn
to negotiate
mindset,
either,
though.
but yeah. What was that?
I said that's like a very stubborn mindset. It's like regardless, I wouldn't be happy of paying, because it's like my life was going good until 1 hour ago. Now I all of a sudden have to shell out 50K. That sucks, right?
Yeah.
Psychologically, that's like a battle. But at the same time, it's like, well, it is what it is. It happened. It's like getting into a car accident, right? It's like, do I just keep driving my busted car and repair it piece by piece as life goes on, or do I just go get it repaired the next day and continue, you know, bite the bullet? So I don't know. But that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. I mean, we had a law firm and I think the price was like 100K and they're like, yep, pay it. That's like, I mean, that's like nothing, right? For them.
Yeah.
Um, So, but you know, and then I had a school district a long time ago that paid, I think it was like 130K, something like that. And I don't know. I was just kind of like annoyed with the whole situation because like for school districts, I mean, that could be like two people's salaries.
Yep. Yep.
And they paid it. And it was like, your IT person needs to be fired. Like, I don't know. I just felt like they should have done a better job of like securing their backups and stuff like that. So it's just, I guess it's a case by case basis. There's no real one answer. So
There is no one answer, but I think like the takeaway from our conversation is figure it out now, be prepared for it, build the muscle memory, like you said, Matt, before it happens, in case it happens. So, you know your fire exit route now,
yep.
not when the fire happens, then trying to find the exit. So,
Yep. And now's the time to do it. It's a new year, right? It's the beginning of the year. Review your IR policy, your plan, your run books, your playbooks, do a tabletop, all that good stuff. So
yeah. And I almost, at the very beginning of the conversation, you said ransomware and all this stuff kind of slowed down because of the tensions between Russia and Ukraine. Those tensions aren't going to be forever, right? Eventually it'll kind of, one will break or something will happen. I don't know what, but when they do, you're going to have all these people have been on like hacking sabbaticals, which are going to be jumping back into action. I'm pretty sure of that. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Once hopefully this Ukraine Russia thing resolves quickly. But yeah, once that happens, I'm sure they're going to be back into full swing. So
for sure. So
seen a lot less American Patriots online too. I don't know if you caught that. Lot of less fake profiles of American Patriots.
well, I guess Elon is shutting down all the bots. So
oh, is he? I thought he didn't care. I thought he removed his entire censorship department.
oh, did he? I don't know. I kind of stopped following the hype around Twitter and all that stuff.
I saw someone tweet, or he tweeted the other day. He's like, 12 months ago I was person of the year, and then someone retweeted like, well, 12 months ago we didn't know how unhinged of a human you were.
Who put it up? My dad actually told me. He said somebody had like tweeted or said online that like Elon's gonna be the new president or something like that, or he's gonna run when California and Texas separates from the United States, Elon Musk is gonna lead them. And Elon replied back, he's like, "No, man, what are you talking about?"
If that catastrophe ever happened, I could see that. But in the current state of our government, it's not possible. So you have to be American born. So.
I don't know. Never say never, man. Yeah, you said current state of the government, but
yeah,
amendments can always happen.
Right.
But yeah, with that said, that's all I got to talk about on ransomware. Stay vigilant, be prepared. And what are your final thoughts, Mr. Mosley?
The same. Stay vigilant. Be prepared. Semper Paratus, which I think is the Coast Guard motto.
What is it? What does it stand for?
It's Latin for always be ready.
Oh, okay. I like that. Always be ready.
Yep. Always be ready. That's our motto is it's fine. This is fine.
Yeah, this is fine. It's fine. With fire flames burning in the background.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing
Move along. All right, I'm done. I'll stop.
I guess I'll stop too. So with that said, everybody, thanks for listening. Happy 2023. We're excited to bring you all some fun stories, hacker stories. If you're following us, we appreciate you. If you're listening as a new listener, like, subscribe, reach out to us. If you find me and Matt somehow, send us an email or something, and we'll send you some cool Tavora Talks stuff. And with that said, I guess till next time.
What kind of cool Tavora Talk stuff do we have, and why don't I have it?
What do we have?
I'm just kidding.
I have a t-shirt and the sticker and our stickers.
That's true. Yeah,
our stickers went out, so hey, new batch of stickers being printed. I'm still open to bringing Pogs back. That's my outdated self.
That should be our secret. Well, it's not secret now, but that should be our giveaway. We'll send you a set of Pogs.
Set of Pogs coming at you.
All right.
But
I'm
yeah,
good.
reach out to us
Happy
and
New
we'll get
Year.
you some cool stuff. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, Mr. Mosley, and to our fans. Till next time.